I ain't gonna go live. But I guess, I wanted to do a recording in the morning because I kind of like want to keep my fucking schedule and shit. But yeah, we're up this morning. Well, it's not morning, it's almost fucking afternoon. And about to get out, go positively participate, act in the law of action. You know what I'm saying? The law of attraction and law of action are so fucking goddamn synonymous to one another. Like, you really can't activate the law of attraction without activating the law of action. Because the law of action and law of attraction. That's why I'm more like the laws that govern human agency. And those laws haven't really been, really well defined. I mean, karma, the laws of karma, the 12 laws of karma are the best definition. And even that is like taken from Upanishadic and Vedic information sources. And then, whittled down into these 12, laws that differentiate depending on who's interpreting them. So, I'm more on the laws that govern human agency and defining those laws that govern human agency more than like talking about any single individual one, like the law of attraction, law of action, law of power, or whatever. Because at the end of the day, all of those laws are, intricate. And then they're not, they're only laws from human perception. They're just intrinsic, aspects of nature that we interpret by way of our physiology as laws, and our intersubjective agreement really, as laws, depending on what language you're speaking, you're going to refer to law differently. And that also may determine how you perceive what we call law. Because how we perceive law in English is not necessarily how you perceive law in, say, well, maybe Spanish, but not Chinese or so. I mean, like, depending on the language. And then even in antiquity, like Mayat is considered law. That's how you describe law in the ancient, Kemetic language or Medjugorje. So to say, what is law and what isn't law is also based upon, national and ethnic perception. And I do see the difference between ethnicity and nationality. Like African American would be our ethnicity. However, our nationality would be American, and since our ethnicity is attached to our nationality, that proposes a problem because the African ethnicity is just that. It's a continent ethnicity. It's a continental ethnicity. It's not a national ethnicity. So therefore, again, our political and our political realities are entangled with that of Europeans without any real representation of our psychological and physiological traits within that political entanglement. And as long as we have a political entanglement where our political interests are aligned, yet one is superimposed upon the other or given greater importance than the other, then it's going to be problematic. So therefore, for both, not just for the one that is being oppressed, but the one that's doing the oppression. The psychology of oppression is no better for the oppressor than it is for the oppressed. It's a damaging psychology on both sides. So I kind of wanted to just, I don't know, I never really touch on any one thing when I do these things. I like them all over the place. But this is where I am right now. Like this morning, like laws of attraction. I mean, not laws of attraction, laws that govern human agency, and defining those laws in more, are articulating those laws in more Western-centric mind state. Because unfortunately for us, our intersubjective agreement is, entangled within Western thinking, and so even though we have an African psychiatry, biopsychiatry, we are forced to adapt an English psychology. And I mean, as I go on, I better define these terms, That's really why it is. People are like, Alton, why don't you write a book? I'm like, dude, if I wrote a book, I'd be leading you astray. I would be like, and then later on I'd have to revise it. And which is a lot of, thought leaders, specifically in our community, find themselves doing because they find that they're confronted with new information that challenges the old information, and have to, and generally, because intelligent people do that, they have to incorporate that new information into the old information, and it tends to throw people off. So, that's been one of my main goals is seeing how well shit works for me before I decide, oh, I'm going to teach other people to live this. And it's the marshmallow, you know what I'm saying? And it's the two marshmallows an hour later versus the marshmallow right now. I'd rather have the marshmallows 2 hours later. I mean, an hour later, two marshmallows an hour later than the marshmallow right now. I mean, and shit, if I come back, you know what I'm saying, an hour later, and you can tell me if I come back an hour later, it's going to be 4 instead of 2 marshmallows, I'm going to wait. You know what I'm saying? And I'll make do without marshmallows. But if I can get the whole pack, I'm going to get the whole pack. Why get one if I can get the whole pack? That's where I'm at. And that's long-term thinking. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't think long-term, which is the basis of the natural course. And that's what Islam is. Islam is a natural way. And that's what really is described as the natural way. And so my even breakdown of Il Sima, Il Mayal is even more so because that would be synonymous with what is peace or the natural way. To be unified with Mayat would bring about peace. So, I mean, I see the word dumbing down from Islam because all Islam is al-salam. It's the peace. So, I mean, if you look at it phonetically, you know what I'm saying, and if you break down the breaking of the word, it's just the peace. So the fact that salam is present, going back to the earlier Semitic languages, and then El is also, you know what I'm saying, present, it's not far-fetched to think that some people would say, hey, I'm seeking the peace, and then make the peace a thing. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all that, Islam means. We just say it Islam, but it's al-Islam. I mean, it's al-Salam. So we say it Islam, it's kind of like the abbreviation. I mean, that's something that happens in languages. First you say cannot, and then eventually people start saying can't. And that's just the way in which human beings... The contraction. And that's exactly what Islam is. It's the contraction of al-Salam, the peace. And that, I mean, the fact that people make things so confusing is just like, what the fuck? Why do you have to make it so confusing? Salam and al are present within Semitic languages at their very fucking basis. You know what I'm saying? Going back to the very Punic language, to the phonetic language, the Phoenician language, salam is present. It has to be present because the alphabet is the same alphabet that comprises all other Semitic languages. So salam is present. So to think that, okay, it's like in English, I'm like, okay, I'm seeking the peace. And we start making the peace a big thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, we create a whole culture around of establishing the peace. And it's dedicated to establishing the peace. And the peace is found in the natural way. So, you know what I'm saying? Therefore, the culture of Islam versus the religion of Islam. Not to say that I'm against the religion of Islam if it makes sense, And there's certain aspects of the deen that I'm fully, it's really shira. It's the shira that's the problem. It's the law associated with the deen that makes it problematic, not the deen itself. The deen itself has so many attributes to it. I know I practice the aspects of the deen. I practice a lot, and I can't say that I didn't benefit from it. So it's not the deen itself that is problematic. It's the shira law that surrounds the deen that needs to be really challenged. And that's really what we're doing in the North American tradition, I think, is we're challenging the shira law. We're not challenging necessarily the deen, nor the culture, nor even really the language. I mean, there are aspects of the language that are beautiful and shit, you know what I'm saying, that we appreciate. Just the description of the language is Arabic, and developing our own Islamic scholarship apart from, you know what I'm saying, the mullah of the Saudi Arabian tradition. Developing our own mullah, you know what I'm saying, developing our own academia in the North American tradition. Because the differentiation between the North American tradition and the Saudi Arabian tradition is like fucking maybe 5 years. It's just presented as if there's this 14,000 year difference, or 1,400 year difference, which is not true. Oh, it's time for me to go. I gotta go. But that's my time.